Okay, now it's time to do midpoint on this sheet of paper. So go ahead and get this paper out on your Schoology. You can use Orbit Docs to open it, or Cami, or whichever extension you have. Now, we're going to start off with question 1. Midpoint. Midpoint, this is the formula. x1 plus x2 divided by 2. Remember, just how we did those points, we did those problems on the last video, same way. You add the two numbers and you divide by 2. You add the two numbers and you divide by 2. Now, I gave y'all an assignment on coordinate planes. You should all know what an x1 is, what an x coordinate is, what a y coordinate is. If you don't know, pause this video, go find out. Okay? And also pay attention, because I'm also doing it as well. Let's go ahead and start with the first question. We have 7, 4, and we have 9, -1. This is what y'all gonna do. Do this every time, if you need to. Label. You should not be solving any problems without labeling your points. You're not on my level where you can already know what's what. Okay, so I need you to start off with labeling. x1, y1, x, hold on. Put your x's. I'm gonna come switch the colors out. There. Now, if you can't tell, that's green. That's blue. Your y's are blue, x's are green. Please understand this. Your first pair, x, y. Your second pair, x, then y. These are common mistakes students make. They think this is their first pair. I didn't ever think first was the last or in second place. First was always the beginning, right? So first pair, x1, y1, is the first set of numbers. So these two should not ever have a 1 next to it. Because if it's in the second place, it should have a 2. If it's in the first place, it should have a 1. Understand that. Another mistake students make, they do y and then they do x. Never, when I taught, are we ever going to do y then x? It's never that way. It's always x then y. Even in the alphabets, x comes before y. It is basic alphabetical knowledge. So, please refrain from making those type of mistakes, because you're going to get so deep into the work and you mess up, now you got to go back. Okay? So, please keep that in mind. We're going to go ahead and start with the problem. We're going to attack our green numbers first. So, x1, who is the x1 number? You always look at who is above the x1 and the x2. I see 7 is above x1, so I don't have 7 here. x2 is 9 divided by 2. Okay? Now, your y's, you're going to have 4 minus 1 over 2. Your y1 plus your y2, just like your x1 plus your x2. Remember, since it's a midpoint on a graph, midpoint on a graph requires two numbers, an x and a y. On a number line, one number. On a coordinate plane, two numbers, because you have an x coordinate and you have a y coordinate. I need an x and I need a y. Two numbers. Remember that, or write it down. So, with that being said, 9 plus 7 will give me 16. Okay, that's my x. I'm going to erase that part right there because we're about to connect them. That's my x. $4 and I spend $1. That means I have $3 left. Okay? So, with that being said, half of 16 is 8. And because 2 cannot go into 3, you're just going to leave it as 3 over 2. So your answer is 8 comma 3 over 2. I have an X and I have a Y. I have two numbers. Remember that. You should not start off with two numbers and it gets to 1. No way. No way in math should you start off with two numbers and it gets to one number. No, it should stay two numbers all the way down. Especially when you have points. Okay? Now, pause the video so you can catch that up. That should be enough time. Now, I understand we're virtual, so it's going to be a little hard to understand. But let's try our best. We have 8 comma negative 9. And we have 0 comma 5. I want you to just I will need you to understand. This is your Y1. This is your Y2. This is your X1. This is your X2. Okay? Your X1, Y1. X2, Y2. It should follow like that. X1, Y1. X2, Y2. So you gotta make it a little song in your head. So I have the green. I'm gonna start with my X first. I have 8 plus 0 divided by 2. 8 plus 0 is just 8. So half of 8 is 4. I already got my X coordinate. I already solved. Let's go into my Y coordinate. I have negative 9 plus 5 divided by 2. If you have to work with one set at a time, do so. You owe someone $9. You owe your mother $9. Run her money. You give her $5. Say, here you go, mother, here your $5. How much do you owe her? You owe her $4. So, you owe her $4. Half of negative 4 is negative 2. That's your answer. This is your answer. Oh well. That's your answer. 4 comma negative 2. I'm going to put parentheses around it. There we go. 4 comma negative 2. Just as how we was doing it on the number line. There's no difference. You just have another set. You have another pair. Okay? Same way we did within the other videos. It's just an extended pair. That's it. That's really it. Okay? So, we're going to move forward. I have to get my marker top. Okay? So, let's move forward. Because midpoint takes time. We're going to speed up just a tad bit once I get to the second half of the video. So, we have 1 comma negative 7. And we have 1 comma negative 12. Okay? So right now, before you even try to throw it in a calculator or photo math, is what some of y'all would do, don't do that. Because photo math ain't going to help you pass this class. Thank you. Now when it comes to my tests and quizzes, I need you to go ahead and label. Before you touch anything, before you touch any calculator, I need you to label. I need to know this is my x's. I need to know who my x's are. X1, X2. I should not see 2 then 1. When on the number line have we ever seen X2 then 1? Just making sure. Then we have Y1 and we have Y2. Right? So now I have the X's, now I have the Y's. Now I have them labeled correctly, right? Now it's time to solve first. I want to solve my x's. So 1 plus 1 divided by 2. I know 1 plus 1 is 2. And so 2 divided by 2 is 1. I just got my x pair right there. Wonderful. Now it's time to figure out my y's. I owe someone $7. Now I owe them $12 more. All right? I'm gonna go ahead and loop this around, loop that around. If you haven't noticed, all my x's are in green. All my y's are in blue. I need you to be making that connection. So, you owe this person $19. You owe this person $19. Okay? So, we know 19 cannot go into, 2 cannot go into negative 19 evenly. So, your best bet is to leave it like that. 2, negative 19 over 2. If you like to convert it to decimals, you can. But because I'm working on this by hand, we're going to leave it in fraction form. If you want to convert it to a decimal, you can. If not, that's fine. So negative 19 over 2 will be your answer. Now, let's go ahead. Onward to question 4. After question 7, then I'll stop the video to do the second half. Question 4, we have 0, 4. Then we have negative 4, negative 12. Now, midpoints. Label. I don't need to see you plugging in anything without labeling. If I don't see no labels, we're going to have problems. Okay? When you go to your store and you don't see no label, no price tag, you're going to have problems. Because no one likes to be shopping without knowing how much you're paying. So, you do your x's. You have 0 minus 4 divided by 2. 0 minus 4 is just negative 4. Okay? So, half of negative 4 is just negative 2. Half of negative 4 is negative 2. Okay? I just solved my x. Now it's time to solve my y's. I have 4 minus 12 divided by 2. Alright? I owe someone $12. I give them $4. How much do I owe them? You owe them $8. Another way you can read that is if you have $4 in your bank account, because this is real, you're going to go through this. You have $4 in your bank account, and you spend $12 on Amazon, thinking you got money, but you're not. You're broke. You got $4, and you spend $12 on Amazon. How much you owe your bank? You owe them $8. So, half of negative 8 is negative 4. And that's your answer. Okay? Half of negative 8 is negative 4. You see how I'm solving this? I'm carrying on from the previous video. Okay? Time to start the next one. Okay. And when we return to class, we will do a crash course on this. Here we got negative 4. What's that? 2. And then we have 2, comma, negative 3. Label, label, label. Let me not switch up the routine. X, Y, Oopsie. You see, I made a mistake, and I corrected myself. And I ain't give up. Growth mindset there. Okay. Top you till I'm done. Okay, let's solve the x's first. We have negative 4 plus 2 divided by 2. You owe someone $4. You give them 2. You still owe them $2. So since you owe them $2, half of that 2, that negative 2, is negative 1. Half of negative 2 is negative 1. Now, time to solve the y's. You have 2 minus 3 over 2. 2 minus 3 is negative 1. So you're going to have negative 1 over 2. Because 2 cannot go into negative 1, you will leave it as a fraction. So this is your answer. Put that in the box. There we go. That's your answer. Negative 1 comma negative half. That is your answer. This is really basic math. Midpoint is really basic math. Basic adding, subtracting, and dividing by 2. So if you understand, if you have a strong background in basic arithmetic, midpoint is really not going to be that hard. It's really telling you this is the middle of this line. This is the middle on this coordinate plane. This is the middle point on the coordinate plane between these 2 points. So let me rephrase that. Between these 2 points on the coordinate plane, this is the midpoint. So you can take all this and graph it in Desmos. And you can easily see that this is the midpoint. Okay? So if we need to see visuals, we will gladly do so. When we return back to school, if you need it, just let me know. We're on question 6. We have 5, 9, and we have negative 1, 9. Okay? I realize I'm not going to do the rest of these problems after question 7. I'm just going to leave y'all to solve that if you want to for points. But I'm going to just solve up to question 7, and I'm going to be done for midpoint. And then when we return back to school, if we need to solve the rest for help and clarity, we will do so. So, label, 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 I made you out of play. Label, label, label. I forgot the rest. I know the song meant, I think it's, I'm not even going to say it because I might butcher it, and I'm not even going to do that. But we label, label, label. Label, thank you. So, who we start with first? X. Even though we don't like to deal with our X's, we start with them first. Let's begin. We got 5 minus 1 divided by 2. 5 minus 1, that's 4. Half of 4, that's 2. Period. Thank you, Paul, for moving ahead of me. Now, 9 plus 9 divided by 2. We know 9 plus 9 is 18. And half of 18 is 9. And there we go. This is your answer. Okay, so on to our last question. Question 7. We have negative 7, 8, and we have negative 2, negative 9. Ooh. Okay. Remember, y'all already know. I'm tired of saying it. Y'all already know. I know y'all probably tired of me saying it. Y'all probably tired of me talking. I'm tired of talking too. But that's the life of a teacher. We just talk. Solve who first? Solve X first. You can solve Y if you want to, but I like to be consistent. I owe someone $7. Now I owe them $2 more. That means I owe them $9. I owe them 7. Now I owe them 2 more. That's 8, 9. Because 2 cannot go into -9, you will leave it as that. 2 cannot go into an odd number, so you will leave it at -9/2. Now let's solve our x's. We have 8 minus 9/2. Okay, same will apply. You have $8 in your bank. You spend $9 on Amazon. How much you owe your bank? You owe them $1. And because 2 cannot go into an odd number, you will leave it as a fraction. So, -1/2 will be your answer for your y. Now, like I said earlier, if you plot these two pairs on the coordinate plane, if you plot these 2 points on the coordinate plane, and you plot this point, this will be the midpoint between these two. This is the midpoint between those two. So you can use Desmos, which would be, that's Desmos. You could use Desmos to graph your midpoint questions, and it will tell you, it will show you. This is the midpoint. You can even count the spaces if you want to. That's if you want to. So, that is all of this video on midpoint. Like I said, question 8 through 14, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to record that one. But if you want to solve those problems, you can gladly do it for extra credit points. Each question is worth 10 points. So that's 70 points that you can have to your grade. I hope y'all watching this video because I might forget that next week. So you might want to have to remind me. But goodbye.